In early 2025, Taiwan's government stunned the world by proposing the return of military courts during peacetime, a move not seen since the island's martial law era decades ago. The announcement sent shockwaves through both domestic and international communities, raising urgent questions about the future of democracy on the island. President Lai Ching-te's administration argued this was a vital shield against growing threats from China, aiming to root out spies and traitors within the armed forces. Officials insisted that extraordinary times called for extraordinary measures, emphasizing the need to protect national security as tensions with Beijing reached new heights. Beijing's response was immediate and furious, condemning the move as a dangerous provocation and a step toward formal independence. Chinese officials accused Taiwan of undermining regional stability and warned of serious consequences if the policy was enacted. China's military flexed its muscles around the island, making its displeasure unmistakable. Warplanes and naval vessels increased their presence, sending a clear message of intimidation to both Taiwan and the world. The proposal captured the immense pressure Taiwan faces, defending itself without sacrificing its democratic freedoms. Citizens found themselves caught between the need for security and the fear of sliding back into authoritarian practices. It sparked a fierce debate about security, justice, and the island's painful history. Memories of martial law resurfaced, with some warning that the return of military courts could erode hard-won civil liberties. For many, it's a stark reminder of the high stakes in maintaining peace in the Taiwan Strait. The specter of conflict loomed large, and ordinary people worried about what the future might hold. The world watched anxiously, aware that Taiwan's decision could shift the balance of power in the Indo-Pacific. International leaders debated how best to respond, knowing that any misstep could have far-reaching consequences. Allies like the United States urged caution, fearing escalation. Diplomatic channels buzzed with urgent discussions, as Washington and others weighed support for Taiwan against the risk of provoking Beijing. The proposal became a symbol of Taiwan's struggle for self-determination against Beijing's territorial ambitions. It highlighted the island's determination to chart its own course, even in the face of overwhelming pressure. Once again, the fragility of peace in the region was laid bare, reminding the world just how quickly the status quo can be threatened, and how vital it is to safeguard both freedom and stability in East Asia. Taiwan's proposal didn't come out of nowhere. The island lives under constant threat from China, which has never ruled out force to achieve unification. President Lai's government now officially labels China a hostile foreign force, a reflection of daily reality. Chinese military jets, warships, and relentless cyber attacks are routine. Espionage is a growing concern. In 2024, 64 people were charged with spying for China, most of them current or former military. China's efforts to recruit insiders threaten to undermine Taiwan from within. Disinformation campaigns further erode trust and sow division. The government argues civilian courts are too slow and ill-equipped for sensitive national security cases. They see military courts as a necessary tool to act swiftly against treason and sedition. For Taiwan's leaders, this is about survival, closing a critical security gap. The stakes are existential and the pressure is mounting. Military courts, also known as courts martial, are specialized legal systems set up specifically for members of the armed forces. Unlike civilian courts, they operate under a different set of rules and procedures, tailored to the unique needs and demands of military life. Their main purpose is to enforce discipline within the ranks and handle offenses that threaten military order such as desertion, espionage, or treason. These courts are designed to respond quickly to breaches of security or discipline, which is considered essential in a military context. Since 2013, Taiwan soldiers have been tried in civilian courts during peacetime, a major human rights reform that aimed to ensure greater transparency and fairness for service members accused of crimes. Now, a new proposal seeks to reverse this reform, allowing military courts to once again try active-duty personnel for severe national security crimes, especially those involving sensitive information or threats to the state. Under this system, trials would be conducted by panels of military officers, often behind closed doors to protect classified details and prevent leaks that could endanger national security. Supporters of the proposal argue that military judges have the expertise to understand the stakes involved and can act swiftly to prevent sensitive information from falling into the wrong hands. They claim this speed and heightened security are vital in the face of growing espionage threats and the complex challenges of modern warfare. Critics, however, warn that military courts often offer fewer protections for the accused and risk bias, since judges are part of the same military hierarchy as the defendants. They worry that the rights of service members could be compromised. Public trials could be limited or even excluded, raising serious concerns about transparency, accountability, and the overall fairness of the judicial process. The government promises strict oversight and fair trials, insisting that national security and justice can be balanced. Still, skepticism remains among legal experts and the public. This proposal marks a fundamental shift in Taiwan's legal landscape, forcing the country to weigh the demands of national security against the protection of individual rights and freedoms. Ultimately, the debate is about more than just law, it's about the very soul of Taiwan's democracy and how the nation chooses to define justice in an era of uncertainty. The proposal has split Taiwan, igniting passionate debate across the island and drawing sharp lines between opposing camps. It has pitted security advocates who emphasize the need for strong national defense against defenders of democracy who worry about the cost to civil liberties. Supporters, led by the ruling party, see it as a necessary response to rising espionage threats and what they describe as a failing civilian justice system unable to keep up with modern security challenges. They argue that only military courts have the authority and expertise to deter traitors, protect sensitive intelligence, and respond quickly to urgent threats. Swift, closed-door trials, they say, are essential for national survival, especially in a time of growing external pressure and internal uncertainty. Critics, including human rights groups and opposition parties, warn this is a dangerous step backward that could undermine decades of democratic progress. They fear a return to authoritarian practices, the erosion of judicial independence, and the silencing of dissenting voices. Military courts, they argue, lack impartiality and transparency, raising the risk of wrongful convictions and abuse of power. For them, strengthening civilian courts, not reviving military ones, is the only way to ensure justice and protect the rights of all citizens. The memory of past abuses under martial law fuels their opposition, as they see the proposal as a slippery slope toward repeating history. For critics, Taiwan's hard-won reputation as a vibrant democracy is at stake, and the world is watching how the nation responds. The debate is fierce and deeply emotional, with both sides claiming to defend the nation's future, and the outcome will shape Taiwan's identity for years to come. To understand the fear around military courts, look to Taiwan's past. From 1949 to 1987, martial law and the White Terror saw military courts wield sweeping power, silencing dissent and persecuting thousands. These courts became symbols of injustice and repression, leaving deep scars on society. The transition to democracy in the 1990s dismantled these authoritarian tools. The 2013 death of Army Corporal Hung Chung-Chu after brutal punishment in military detention reignited public outrage. Massive protests demanded justice and an end to military trials in peacetime. The legislature responded, abolishing peacetime military courts, a triumph for human rights. For many, the 2025 proposal feels like a betrayal of those hard-won reforms. Critics see it as reopening old wounds and risking a return to darker times. The trauma of martial law still shapes public opinion. The debate is not just legal, it's deeply personal and historical. China's reaction was swift and hostile, seeing Taiwan's proposal as a direct challenge to its sovereignty. Beijing condemned the move, warning it crossed a red line toward independence. The People's Liberation Army launched massive military exercises encircling Taiwan with ships and jets. Live fire drills and simulated attacks sent a clear message: China can blockade or strike at will. These maneuvers were psychological warfare, meant to intimidate Taiwan and pressure its leaders to back down. China's strategy is to normalize crisis, keeping Taiwan under constant threat. By reacting so forcefully, Beijing aims to dictate Taiwan's security choices. The message: any move to strengthen Taiwan's defenses will be met with overwhelming pressure. The stakes for Taiwan's sovereignty have never been clearer. The proposal has ignited fierce debate in Taiwan's parliament and on the streets. The ruling party frames it as essential for survival, but lacks a legislative majority. Opposition parties, wary of appearing anti-democratic, express deep reservations. Civil society groups, energized by memories of past protests, organize forums and campaigns against the plan. They argue civilian courts can be strengthened, not replaced. For ordinary citizens, the issue is personal, balancing security with hard-won freedoms. Many fear a return to authoritarianism, while others worry about spies and sabotage. The anxiety is palpable, as Taiwan grapples with how to defend itself without sacrificing democracy. The outcome will shape the island's identity for years to come. The military court's proposal is part of a broader security overhaul. President Lai's government is tightening controls on cross-strait movement and enforcing the Anti-Infiltration Act. New rules target citizens with mainland ties, especially in sensitive jobs, to prevent Chinese influence. Cybersecurity and counter-disinformation efforts are ramping up, with tech companies and fact-checkers enlisted. The strategy Total Defense, mobilizing every sector of society against foreign aggression. Extending military service and strengthening alliances are also on the agenda. These measures aim to make Taiwan safer, but raise tough questions about the cost to democracy. The conversation about security versus freedom is ongoing and urgent. The world is watching Taiwan's crisis with deep concern. As the leading producer of advanced chips, Taiwan is vital to the global economy. Conflict in the Taiwan Strait would disrupt everything from smartphones to cars. The US, Japan, and Australia are monitoring closely, wary of escalation. Washington urges restraint, fearing a wider war between nuclear powers. Taiwan's decision on military courts sends a signal to Beijing and the world. Passing the proposal could provoke more pressure from China. Backing down could embolden Beijing. The island faces a perilous choice, with risks on all sides. The debate is about more than law. It's about Taiwan's resolve and identity. The future of the Indo-Pacific hangs in the balance. The stakes for Taiwan and the world could not be higher.